I see Saracen. Shukran, much love for the super chat. I'm at work, so I'm throwing in my 2 cents. All right, there you go. Throw them in, throw them in. What's your views on Andrew Tate's conversion? Do you think Islam is now becoming a haven for those who are frustrated with culture war, the manosphere? I'm not sure I've come across that term. The manosphere. What are my thoughts on Andrew Tate's conversion to Islam? You see, faith is for each and all, and it is a person's personal journey. It is ultimately a road to God, and it's not really for anyone to it's not anyone's place to really even have something to say about it in that sense. It's a person's personal journey. That's as far as Iman and faith is concerned. So anybody and everybody is welcome to the caravan of faith, and specifically or particularly the caravan of Islam. So whoever embraces the faith, ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban, and may Allah, may Allah soften and guide their hearts and allow them to be a beacon of light for others as well. So that goes without saying. That would also apply to Andrew Tate or anyone that embraces Islam. Yeah. I mean, that said, right. So Andrew Tate is obviously a very controversial, personality. Absolutely adored and by some and loathed and hated by others. To me, you see, there's things about him that obviously I can understand how they trigger people, and there's things about him that I feel he's making a valid point on certain things he's saying. Obviously his whole character is provocative in and of itself, but he unquestionably is a marketing genius. The guy is, I think anybody that undermines his genius is, I mean, whether you do or not, it's irrelevant because he is a marketing genius. He's a bit, in some ways, in that respect, a bit like how Shah Rukh Khan in the Bollywood thing it wasn't just his acting, but he was a marketing genius. What he did and the contracts he tied himself into, and how he introduced them into the whole Bollywood sphere. I suppose maybe many people ain't aware of that, but that was his actual genius. It wasn't just his acting. But similarly, or in that parallel, what Andrew Tate has done is he's just projected himself onto the world and then beat this algorithm in the sense that he is everywhere. I do agree with certain things that he states about. You see, he is highlighting this, what he refers to as the matrix, or the powers that be. It is true that they do not want men to be unruly. You see, I feel that this point of his, I don't know whether people get it or not, but I feel he's making a valid point here, that he's stating that, because what he's trying to hype up is the manliness of men, but he's also stating that there's a reason why people don't want you to be very manly or be very drawn towards these ideals that men have this thing where they should be protectors and they should, because it's not, these words are nice words. Nobody has a problem with these words that men should be protectors or providers or, but it's that this archetype is nested in other things, which, even if you're not saying it, but they are the subtext. So you see, for men to be, for example, the protectors, they need to be, there needs to be aggression. They need to carry aggression within them. Even if, in the words of Jordan Peterson, they don't exercise it, but they need to have it. They need to have the potentiality to be dangerous. They need to, and these things, it is true that, and I do feel this was the reason he was cancelled. I don't agree with the cancellation of cancelling or, deplatforming Andrew Tate. And I do feel that the reason he was cancelled was not because of misogyny and stuff like this. I feel that people who believe that are incredibly naive. I mean, in my perspective, I feel they've just taken a naive, lower, the kind of lower fruits that are hanging to them, and they think, the world cares. Yeah, the world does not. These conglomerates and the powers that run these institutions, they do not care about him calling women hoes or doing things like this, or they don't care. Rap music is full of this. The internet is full of these things. They genuinely do not care about this stuff, although that is perhaps the pretext that they presented in deplatforming him, in saying that the reason that they're deplatforming is because he's misogynistic. And maybe he's racist, or maybe he's homophobic, or maybe he's these things. I don't think these were this is my opinion, I could be wrong. I don't think they honestly could care. And if they do care about that, that's potentially, that would not be above 1 to 2% of the reason why they did this. The reason is that he's dangerous. He's not dangerous for the reasons that people think he's dangerous. Like, people think he's dangerous because he's making people misogynistic. Sure, he may be, but that's not the reason why he's dangerous to those people, to the powers. He's dangerous because if he stirs this spirit of this kind of this audacious, dangerous man, things could easily lose control. Like, it does, like, let's say, honestly, it would take, let's say you had just 5,000 people, 5,000 men in a country that became incredibly unruly. Just 5,000. That is enough to potentially create chaos. You see, danger always comes from men. There's no mistake about that. I mean, for the most part, people who will get it, people who will fight, who will kill, who will be involved in serious crime, who will run all kinds of criminal syndicates, all these people will be men. People who rise with rebellions, people who will protest dangerously, people who will overthrow governments, these people are always, for the most part, are always men. So it is in the interest of kind of passivity and this of keeping things, maintaining the order, that men more and more gradually remain, that they become more and more emasculated. That is more a politics of power. Because you don't want, like, let's be honest, you don't want men, if you're ruling places or you're that wealthy, to be of that nature, because that's a huge problem. Because people like that, you can't control them. And if you do control them, you just have to throw them in prisons, and you have to and everything. It's not just prisons, but the whole, like I said, a few thousand men like that are enough to cause chaos in an entire country of millions and millions of people. That's all it would take. So what Andrew Tate was doing was he was bringing a spark to that spirit. That's very dangerous for the powers that be. This is why countries like China agreed to deplatform him. Do you really think TikTok cares what Facebook dictates to it? No. And they could not care about misogyny or about these other things, but it's that they don't want that happening in China. They don't want people kind of rising with this spirit of, but with just a tough spirit of rebelliousness, because that it's always a problem. You see, it is right throughout human history and existence that the indomitable spirit is a problem for the powers that be. So that's my summary of Andrew Tate. As to him becoming Muslim, look, he's at a stage where, look, a great percentage of the world hate him, and they call him misogynistic, and he's over sexualized, and he's all these kind of things. So him jumping onto the Islam, caravan at this stage, I don't, faith is open for all. Nobody can say yes or no to that. But is that a good thing for Islam overall? Time will tell. Not every person who comes to Islam does Islam good. Many people have done Islam a lot of harm as well. So when a person has that reputation of being misogynistic and being this, and then he jumps to Islam, will such a person just go on to use Islam to justify that, let's say, misogyny and that kind of talk and that kind of stuff? And thereby, and Islam already has that reputation amongst many people, unfortunately, wrongfully, but it has that reputation. So is this something to jump up and down and celebrate? I don't know about celebrating it in that sense. I wouldn't be jumping up and down in that kind of celebratory manner. But to me, it would be like, okay, the faith is for everyone, but is there going to be some good out of this, or is this going to do Islam a lot of harm? Time will tell, and I guess we're just ambivalent about it. But yeah, I know a lot of people were getting really excited, saying, "Oh my God, Andrew Tate's become Muslim." I mean, I don't, the thing is, many of these people themselves will be chucking him out of Islam, given a few, maybe 12 months. I don't know if you've seen his clip. There's a clip of him where he's sitting with his brother Christian, and they're at some cafe or something, and he's asking Christian to pay because he says he's forgotten his wallet, and they're having this thing that he says, well, why should I pay? You always make me pay. And he says, because I am because I am I am the caliph. He says, I am the caliph of Tatistan, and I am now a Muslim, and you are, he says, do you embrace Islam? He's saying this to his brother in the recording. And he says, no. And he says, well, then, you live under my caliphate in Tatistan, and you must therefore pay the jizya. You have to pay me a tax as a non-Muslim infidel living under my... So I get it. He's joking. I mean, but a lot more of this is probably going to come. So all these people that are going on, you see... Yeah, I think another problem is we as Muslims are often, we're very insecure about our faith. So we need people, like, we love it when people embrace the faith. And I get that, that is amazing. Absolutely, that people embrace the faith. But sometimes it's more as a members club that we just want to show off. Oh my God, this guy's a Muslim now. So I would say, look, his faith is between him and God. We wish him the best. We pray that maybe Islam can rectify certain, these issues that this baggage he was carrying, and may he be a light for other people. May Allah bless him to be able to do that. and protect us from any harm that may be coming this way as a consequence as well. Because people forget that as well. There may be a lot of, not everybody who comes to Islam does it well. Many people have brought Islam a lot of harm. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. I've said this before previously, that in the West, there is unfortunately a culture war that is pitting men against women. And this should never be the case. Okay, never. Men and women, we complement one another. We, it is the kind of the energy that is brought by both men and women. It synergizes into an unfathomable and unbelievable majestic force, which is a blessing from Allah. Now, along the way, we can find sometimes toxic elements, and we can find toxic elements in both. We can find it in women. We can find this, that the person in the question said, that people, but we find it in men as well. Men are abusive. Men treat also, there will be some men that will treat women like trash, and there will be some women that will treat men like trash. But we cannot be a party to this. Okay, do not allow even, sometimes, okay, joking aside, things, and I get it. Sometimes people make certain things, and they may, even if they have valid points in some things, but don't allow yourself to ever be to be brought into this kind of culture war between the genders, in saying, well, men are all like this or women are all like this. That is not the way of Islam. Okay, so it is not the, and we have to remember, this is important. Muslim, a lot of this that people say about sometimes women in the West and all, Muslim women are still, they still have a considerable amount of these, of that kind of cultural ethic and the sensitivities that people, for example, are complaining about when it comes to other women. That Muslim women are often not like, I don't mean there will never be any people, but they're still not like that. So when people are saying, oh, women, for example, oh, they don't, they let's say they refuse to do anything at home, or they refuse. This often isn't the case with Muslims cultures. Sure, there may be some discussion, but it isn't as the way you may be finding this problem in some of society at large. So don't mistake the equation. As Muslims, a lot of these things that are problems are not actually problems yet within the Muslim communities to that scale anyway. They're not. So don't be kind of fighting that battle, but over here where it's not even a battle, it's not even a thing. I hope that makes some sense.